Be quiet. The baby's sleeping. He's sleeping with his eyes open, man. Welcome in, welcome in. So today, I went mining. I got some more resources. And I'm still messing around underground. And you might be wondering, well, why are you up at your base right now? That is because when I was down in our mine shaft across the water there, it opens up into like a large cave. And I was exploring that, just gathering any of like the surface materials that were present. And this may clue you into what I found. So I have a water column here and a drop down tunnel. I found a skeleton spawner. So I went ahead and cleared this out. And super convenient location. It goes right up next to the cow farm. And this gave me a few ideas. So I've seen in the recent past where there's automated mob farms where there's a mob holding a spear in a rail cart on a railway, going back and forth, just kind of like plowing into the mobs that drop down into a chute. So I want to use that to make some kind of automated system where I don't have to interact with the mobs myself. And I'm not sure, I have to do some research, but I'm not sure if they'll drop the XP, and B, I need to brush up on the spawning conditions for these guys. Like, how close do I have to be? Is there some mechanism like related to ender pearls, like how those are chunk loaders if they're in like a stasis chamber? Will it spawn the skeletons then? Even my verticality, like I'm directly above it for the most part on my base. So I want to know if, if I'm within a given chunk distance, does the verticality matter for spawning them? Perhaps with like an ender pearl chunk loader or something of that sort. So I'm going to tally all that out, or type all that out into a book and kind of lay out a plan here once I do some more research. All right, gang, so I have collected a good sum of information here. I think we have a good plan moving forward. So I believe in the first episode, I mentioned something about being happy I'm close to spawn chunks. So the last time I seriously played Minecraft for a long stretch of time was 1.20.4. And it turns out that spawn chunks were removed in 1.21.9. So there's no chunks, like predetermined chunks in the world that are constantly being loaded in the background. Players, however, have gotten around that by using chunk loaders, which can come in the form of nether portal contraptions or a stasis chamber with an ender pearl. I think there's a couple other methods as well. So with that being said, let's take a look at my notes here, and I can kind of give you an idea of what my long-term plans are for this world. So we already noted that spawn chunks were removed at some point, but nevertheless, we can still make automated farms that run in the background. However, I don't want all of my farms to be just in the background. I want them to be associated with my builds. I want them to be contextually ingrained in my world. And so what that is going to look like is like all of my buildings will be purpose driven. I don't want to just have buildings that I never go in. So like, for example, like to start out, one of the major resources we're going to get automated here is going to be wheat. Well, I have this this grain mill wheel, right? That's water driven. And in real life, that water driven circular motion connects to a grindstone, and it grinds and mills grains. So that's kind of the idea with this, right? All right, so a little bit of progress here. Nothing too spectacular. but definitely pivotal in what we need to accomplish. As we discussed before, villagers are going to be instrumental in a lot of these farms, so I've essentially created the conditions for these two to breed. And what that looks like is I just put down some wheat farming spaces. They're both assigned to these, and when they breed, the baby villagers will fall down into this spot down here, and then I'm going to create a sorting mechanism for them like as they grow later here. But I did just want to say that this segment of this build, like where they can't access the composters, the way these beds are set up, this trapdoor here, and this mechanism for the babies to fall into. I saw all of this in a Raise Works video for villager breeding, and I just kind of retrofitted some of the mechanics that he takes advantage of and used it here. And then if we just go around back here, I have like a little access wall where no mobs can like get in and kill the baby villagers. And the last thing that I want to do with this is, I don't need a ton of villagers right now, so I want to connect a sticky piston and a line of redstone to a lever underneath both of these stairs to just kind of block in these two villagers at night, in the case that we don't need any more villagers to be made. Just a little bit of a convenience thing. So that's about it for this. I'm going to get some of these guys bred up and flesh this out a little bit more. All right, so I'm waiting for the sun to go down here because these guys would kind of be a nuisance if I were to dig and run a redstone line back to the base. But this is what I've opted for. I couldn't find any slimes to make sticky pistons to move the block, so I'm just going to straight up use the piston itself to block them from exiting. And I think this works pretty well for the time being, so it also blends in almost as well. So that's the plan. And oh, thank you for the wheat. I'm gonna wait for, yep, there we go. All right, so super simple contraption here. I think this is the first redstone contraption we're making in this world. So the line of redstone will go from the lever, and this line will just from here all the way to wherever we want will be extended using repeaters and redstone. But as far as wiring for the pistons go, it's just that simple. It's a line of redstone that forks off into two paths. This redstone goes straight into the block underneath the piston. This powers the block, which powers the piston. Then this goes this way, repeaters facing one direction. The repeaters are unidirectional in nature. It's going down this line of redstone and again straight into the block that powers the piston. So that's it. So I'll cover all of this up and then run it to my desired location. I'm thinking like, what if I want to connect all of these different like manual redstone inputs with levers and buttons to a control panel? And what I mean by that is like, for example, like where I work, we use control panels that have like a series of buttons, and they all have their own function. In this case, all of them would just be a simple on and off toggle. So maybe I'll build like a little like decorative wall here with that redstone line leading to it. See what we think. I built a little control panel. In real life, these would be pretty like small or like thin because wiring in real life is not nearly as chunky as it is in Minecraft. So anyhow, I left room in here to expand with redstone. I have a little back door here. So the first wire goes to the right here, and it goes all the way underground, and I'll trace this path. Repeater, 8 blocks of redstone dust, repeater, 8 redstone dust, repeater, 8 redstone dust, all the way to the piston over here. So, piston is down currently. And it just went up. So there you go. Make sure the other one's up. Yep, the other one's up. So, perfect. Now we have a way to toggle some of the farms out here without having to go and manually interact with them. So for the sake of brevity, I showed you the skeleton spawner earlier, and I don't think that that can be fully automated, and I'll explain those conditions later. I'll explain why we can't fully automate it. But for now, it is going to be important that I get that grinder up and running so I can accumulate XP in a consistent way, because my tools are dying. And shortly after that, I'm going to try and get a mending villager and a couple farmers. Then we'll automate some crop farms, continue trading with the farmers so that we can get more emeralds, get more books, so on and so forth, until basically I have all mending tools and I can really get to work and get cracking on these projects. Alright, so I have a few supplies here for the skeleton spawner. I'm going to replicate a build that I did on a server with my friends recently, just like to decorate the room and make it look nice. Additionally, though, I want to experiment with using ice to see if it'll move them faster through the water stream. And that's really it. I'm going to do the standard way of moving mobs in the spawning chamber up a stream and then have them fall so that they're a one hit. I'm going to head down there and see what's up. Alright, folks, so this is in the final stages of completion here. All that's left to do is to put in the glass wall. I'm going to put in tinted glass. I have my handy little trash can here. I have my bubble column and my drop chute. I plan on putting storage in this wall, which is going to feed from the skeleton collection system down below here. As you can see. I'll drop into those. I'll probably have some kind of like redstone dropper clock, put it into a water stream or something. And feed into like a bunch of chests here. Maybe do like a sorting system. I don't know. We'll see how far we get into that. And lastly but not least, have a enchantment table set up down here. I'll do a nice like archway on this wall. Just for convenience sake.
Hello, hello. So I may sound a little bit different here, and I can't tell if my game will look a little bit different on the recording, but I'm at my friend's place. I'm cat sitting while they're away on vacation. So I may sound a little different. This may look a little different. He's on a ultra wide, but so like I think the cords here are like cut off. This last guy, he always gets stuck. Okay, wait, some more spawn that time though. Even though he's stuck down there. Let's see. One dude gets stuck in that far enough in that chamber, I think it'll continue spawning them. Let's see. Okay. Alright, I think we're good. I just adjusted how many fences are down there. I replaced it with a wall. I guess that works. I don't know. Okay, so I'm just hollowing out here where the not the crafting table, the enchantment table will go. And I think I'm going to follow the same design principles as I did for this main chamber here and put one of these little light fixtures over top of it. Okay, and just like that, it looks like this is a completed product. So I got the tinted glass in here, so no light will pass through from our end into the chamber, and these guys will keep spawning. We have our door to go out into our cave system here, and we have our on and off switch for the spawner. Very nice. We have our chamber where they all drop into. Very nice. He's angry. Can he shoot me through here? Nope. Haha. We've got our hoppers and chest system down below. For those of you who do not know, mud is slightly lower than a normal block, therefore hoppers can pick up items through it. We have our enchantment station set up here. I just took the one from above ground that you've seen me enchant at before. And again, carrying over the same design language as the main part here into here. I'm going to bring down like an anvil and all that crap so that we can do some serious enchanting down here. And then eventually, like I said before, I want to hook up a sorting system if this gets used that much, and have it sorted into the chests here. And a little trash can. And yeah, that's about it. One project down. Okie dokie, so there's a lot that I want to get done, obviously, that I stated in the beginning of the video here. But I think now it's time. It's time we finish up the rest of this building. At least, get these couple rooms done with some roofs on, and we can always expand it later. But today, I really want to get some stuff done. So we have all the bones and bone meal we could ever want. We got a bunch of deep slate and cobbled deep slate from mining out that skeleton area. So we have plenty of resources to continue this build. But I think this will go faster if I just get 9 more levels and get an efficiency axe. So I'm going to go do that and then start chopping. Okay, so first of the changes is I took out some of the spruce stripped logs and put in regular spruce logs for the main building only. And I think that looks better. For a while I was sitting on which one I wanted to do, and I think the dark is a nice contrast from the rest of this like kind of outside like stripped porch or whatever. So it's all dark now, and I think that'll lend itself well to some contrast later on. Like for example, I want to put some like supporting arches to connect these pillars around the water wheel together. Just things like that, where I think a little bit of a darker brown texture that has the warmth that spruce logs do will lend itself well. So I also want to try and incorporate some granite or maybe some cool colors. We don't have any like cool colors yet. Like I think the warped, like the blue warped wood would go really crazy with this, or some of the crimson forest wood. So I might go collect some of that and do some experimentation. Gathered up some of the crimson and warped wood. Now, these are both really bright. I think they're both like warm enough to go with the build, but uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, let's check out plank versions. The Crimson, mm, it's just like a little bit too fantasy. Like it's a little too on like the pink, purple side. Also, yeah, I don't know if I'm feeling the plank, the oak planks for the roof. I think it's a little too bright, in contrast with the unstripped spruce logs. I think it looks great with the stripped spruce logs. But yeah, I'll just use these as like stencils, right? Like just use it to frame out what I want to do and then take it down later. Kind of torn here. Maybe maybe dark oak. Maybe a dark oak planks for the roof would look good. Maybe I'll go get some of that because that's nearby. I remembered I had a little bit of dark oak down in the skeleton spawner, so I'm gonna use that. Yeah, so this dark oak, man, it matches the spruce logs, the unstripped versions, like perfectly. Which is not necessarily what I want to go for. I would like the roof to be um, contrasting, but also like go with it. So I think honestly, I'm just gonna have to use the spruce stairs and slabs, like the spruce planks, which I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted about because the wheel is predominantly this like light brown color, and I just don't want it to get lost in a sea of that color, you know what I mean? So I'm hoping that there's going to be enough degrees of separation in color, like between like this section where the building is over top of it. You know, I'll have like the deep slate walls and stuff, and then from this angle, you'll only see like the trim, like the like skinny side of the roof. You won't be seeing any faces of it. So I'm hoping that way the wheel will still stand out. Alrighty, so I think I've come up with a solid plan for the roof here. What I want to do is I want to put kind of like a bell curve roof on the taller part here, so it's gonna kind of like go up in this kind of pattern. And then I want to bring a kind of like archway like straight out, like towards me, like kind of extrude it straight out, and then have that poking out of the top of a just like straight sloping roof that goes down over top of here. And that'll give us like a little offshoot kind of room from here through here. So like I guess the doorway would be like this, right? Here. Something like that. And then we'll build the roof around it. So yeah, some kind of curve like this, like ever see like a bell curve on a graph or just the shape of a bell, it kind of flanges out at the bottom and then tapers in, goes up on a hard curve and then smooths out again at the top and is mirrored on the other side. Just this general shape I'm going for. I might tweak it a little bit and just to be like proportional to the rest of the build. Let me get rid of this dirt, get the full effect here. Yeah, this is coming together quite nice. So I've got a roof on one side, and you'll see here that it slopes just to about right there, and that's because I'm going to extend this bell curve roof over to about right here, and maybe make some kind of like, you know, another attic space, like the same way this one serves. So yeah, happy with that. And let's check it out. I got a new bubble elevator here that goes up to this story here, the second story. Oh yeah. And also a little drop chute here. And then that's camouflaged by these trapdoors on each side. A little little trick I did here, and then I got another one down there just to kind of tie it all together. This hole in the wall isn't supposed to be here. Let's cover that up. And yeah, we just have another space here for our activities. And what else? What else? Yeah, so the bell curve roof, I'm gonna get cracking on this shape a little bit. I don't think I want it this tall, although that would be very grand to have nice high ceilings. I don't think it's absolutely necessary. So yeah, let's get cracking. All right, kind of stinks that it's raining right now, but we got some big changes here. So we have the bell curve. I've decided on this shape. Went for like a kind of thicker roof. I wanted something a little bit more prominent. See kind of like overhangs on each side and comes out a little bit to give it a little bit of depth and dimension. And my previous concerns were that this wheel, this brown color, was going to get lost in a sea of its own color. But I don't think that's the case. I think it still stands out pretty well. But yeah, I got some minor changes here. Still working on it, obviously. We have our bubble column here. Let's see. So these chests, I think, are going to get moved back into here. And yeah, I think this is going to be the storage room for now. And then what else? I moved the staircase over one. We can still get down to this room. But now we can get up here on a kind of like loft situation. And we have a big old window looking out onto the river here. And then, yeah, it'll be a little bit like open concept here in this roof area. And down here, I got to figure out what to do with the windows. And yeah, that's about it. And then maybe, you know, some fine detailing like trim work and whatnot around these like framing elements. One thing that I want to change, drop down here. Should have used my drop chute. One thing I want to change is when you look at it from over here. You know what? Let me sleep real quick. So one thing I want to address is this is just one big slab of brown, right? Like there's like until you move to the left or the right of it, like looking at it dead on, it does not look great. There's no depth or dimension to it. It's just like a brown slab just staring at you. So what I want to do is I want to put in maybe like a couple like also bell curve shaped windows or like skylights just to give it, you know, some kind of detail. Like there's just absolutely no detail when you look at it from this this way. So I think having like a bell shaped like two of them, two bell shaped windows or skylights with some deep slate will really give it that contrast and that pop that we're looking for. Because really when you do a build, you want it to look good from all angles, right? So I kind of want like something, I want it to look different from every angle. From here, from the other side, right here. It's completely, like they look completely different. So that's kind of the vibe I'm going for with all of these mismatched pieces going together. All right, so I carved out 2 spots for these little like window skylights to go in. And it's not really working the way I intended. It looks a little crowded, I think. So if we look at it from over here, like you don't really retain any of like the roof structure. They take up like the entire area. So I think I either need to reduce it down to 1 or shrink them a little bit. The one condition I have with this is that I want the spruce logs, I want deep slate, and I want at least a 1 wide window. So I left 3 blocks in there to have deep slate and a 1 wide window, but it just looks too crowded. So maybe I'll go with something just like one of them and then make it a little bit bigger or like wider, just so that we see a little bit of the side of this bell curve roof.
Yeah, so I think that's exactly what we're looking for. Doesn't take up too much space, leaves a proportional amount on either side, gives it a little bit more depth, especially when you're moving from side to side. But even when you're looking at it pretty much straight on. There's still a little bit of shadows, and the peak of this kind of pokes over the top of the ridgeline of the entire roof. So that in itself gives it a little bit of depth. So yeah, happy with that, and I'm going to continue on with the rest of the walls. All right. So the walls are done, glass is in, and the build is done. So let's take a little walk around here, and we'll just see how it all looks as a finished product. Let's see it from over here first. Let's see what kind of view the villagers are working with. That's pretty nice. And you may notice I moved the control panel. I actually got rid of it altogether. And I think this will just be simpler. I will just have multiple lever stations. So yeah, looks really good without this obstruction here. And just moving around, you can really see all the variation in terms of how each level is offset. Not only vertically, but also horizontally on each plane. There's just a good amount of variety. And I really like it. I like that it's kind of like organized chaos, right? And you've seen all of these rooms. Only thing I did different up here was add a floor to the loft, and you can drop down into the chute. And as far as views go, I mean, this is just awesome. I mean, you can see these mountains straight out of here as soon as you wake up in the morning. What a sight to behold. We can see out here into the plains. I imagine some future builds being out here that we can admire. We can see downriver here, just beautiful. And you can see down onto our villagers and some more mountains and forest views from here. It's just a nice place to be, man. So let's talk about some of our goals for next episode. So next up in priority, I believe, is going to be crop farms. And namely, it'll be melons, pumpkins, and wheat we want to get automated and running in the background. This way we can trade it with enchanted book villagers. I forget what they're called. But yeah, villagers that'll trade us mending and unbreaking and all the enchantments that we'll need to keep our armor and our tools in tip-top shape. And from there, maybe do an iron farm as well. So all very heavily villager-related things to come in the next episode. And this will be part of our scaling up journey, where we get a lot of resources cooking in the background that we'll need. And that is it for this episode. So thank you for watching.